All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we are live. What is good? What is good? What is good? Of course, you know who I be. The good Dr. Mike TV. Back again, once again. I have to admit, I've been waiting to do this one for a long time. I have. I have, and I think that this one is definitely not long overdue, but long overdue enough. All right. First time to the channel, guys. If you haven't already dropped your like, make sure you knock that out for me right now. All right. I'm not gonna stick around and dwell on the formalities because you guys already know what you need to do. Make sure you drop your like. All right. Today, guys, I know there's still a lot of questions about what traveling is going to be like when it comes to going to the Philippines now that the borders have decided to reopen. There's going to be people who are going to have differing experiences with their travels to the Philippines. And I am glad that I was able to get a friend on and a subscriber onto the channel to be able to share in that particular experience because he just recently got to the Philippines. I want to say roughly about a week or two ago, we'll say about a week or two, at least, about a week or
Yep,
so.
it was on the 5th, so right
About
before
the fifth.
everything
Okay,
opened up.
right before everything opened up. All right, guys, I want to introduce you to my man Oscar. You see him in the
How
chat a
you
lot
doing,
of the
guys?
times, and definitely somebody who participates in the chat. And today, guys, we're going to go through just a list of questions that I have prepared in reference to some of the potential questions that you guys may have about traveling to the Philippines in your upcoming trip. If you guys have great questions that you want to ask, leave them in the chat, and I will definitely be glad to get to them. But first and foremost, let's start with the basic process. First things first, the 48-hour rule when it comes to your negative PCR test is that 48 hours from the date of the actual flight time, or is that 48 hours before you get on the plane, 48 hours before you get to the Philippines? How does that work, or what exactly does that mean?
Okay, so and I saw this go bad for somebody firsthand at San Francisco Airport. It's 48 hours before your flight. So if your flight is at 7 p.m. and and then you got a test, let's say 49 hours prior, well, you're out of luck. You are not
Mm,
flying. There was a guy
uh,
that was like right behind us,
mhm.
and he got to that like 50th hour, and they just said sorry, and they didn't let him fly. I mean, literally,
Wow.
they did not let him fly. They were like, nope, it's over 48 hours. I could hear it. I could hear
Mm,
the dude at the counter telling the guy, and I was like, oh damn. And then that little well, it's a scan thing you got to do also. It's let me I'm
okay.
getting my cell phone here. It's like
Okay.
this. So it's like
Mhm.
it's a little tracking thing. So everywhere you go, if you go to a mall, if you go to a restaurant, well, some restaurants, especially Manila, they do the whole tracking thing. So if somebody comes down with COVID where you've been,
Mhm.
then they're gonna notify you saying, "Hey, you were somewhere you need to go get tested because somebody had COVID and you were at the same place at the same time." Um,
Okay.
Now the one you do in the U.S. is
Right.
going to be good for flying from the U.S. to the airport there in Manila
Mhm.
and for that Manila area. But if you are like, for example, when I flew to Cagayan de Oro, like 5 days
Mhm.
after I arrived,
Right.
I had to get a whole new scan, one of those little contract tracer things, because
Okay.
the one that I had for Manila was not valid, even though it was
Oh.
good enough for Manila.
Mhm.
But nobody told me that except for my niece-in-law. She said, "Tito, do you have this the scan?" I said, "Yeah, I got the one here from the U.S. to get to Manila and that I used in Manila." She goes, "No, that's not good." So she sat there and got me logged in, but nobody would
Mhm.
have told me, and I would have been stuck like Chuck trying to go into a mall. But nobody
Okay.
told me you got to have a different one.
Every area you travel into probably offers another tracker code. So would you say that if I was in Davao when I traveled to Cagayan, that should be good because we're in the Mindanao region, or that's two
Yes,
different areas? So the Mindanao region is good. But if I'm on a plane from Manila to the Mindanao region, another whole tracking code needs to be Got it. Okay.
It's like
See?
it's like every island, right?
Right. Okay. 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 All right. Now let me take
So
it back. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so when I landed at the airport, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I got checked for vaccination card. I got that little piece, that little tracking scan code thing. So then
Mm-hmm.
we land at the airport, and then when you walk out the plane, you walk down this little hallway thing, and there'll be a sign. It's one arrow pointing one way saying vaccinated, arrow pointing the other way saying unvaccinated.
Okay.
So I was already vaccinated, so we all
Mhm.
went to the left. I have
Okay.
no idea what happens to you if you go to the right.
That's yeah.
So so they have a place where they check you for the to make sure you have your little PCR test saying that you're negative,
Mm-hmm.
and they check that you have that scan code that you got, and make sure you screenshot it so you don't have to keep, going to that website, because once you fly in to the Philippines, your U.S. phone's not going to work, so you won't be able to access that website,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now you can't access that PCR code if you didn't save it onto your phone as uh, a screenshot.
Right. A
So you're
PDF
just
or whatever.
stuck.
Yeah.
You're not
Mm.
going nowhere. You're sitting right there because you can't provide that to them, or at least make a
Yeah.
printout of it so you can show them the
Okay.
printout and they can scan it. So let me
Mm.
see here. So yeah, we had to show that first. That was before immigration, and
Mm-hmm.
then they made us show it again like 10 feet later. It made no sense. I just showed the people like right before 10 feet ago that I had the stuff, and now these
Right.
people check it, and then we go to immigration and they check the passports, they check our piece, that little scan code thing, they check our
Mm-hmm.
vaccination status and the PCR codes, and then finally, once you're past that, you can go get your luggage, and
Mm-hmm.
then before you can leave the airport, you got to show it again.
Okay, so that's three times. Basically, it seems like three
Yeah,
times so far.
it was 4 times by the time you get your luggage,
Damn.
and now, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And then we got to the hotel, and they're like, "Yeah, we need your vaccination cards. Show us you got that little scan code thing. Show us your negative test results, all that stuff
Mm.
again." So by the time we flew from America to the time that we got to our hotel, we everything had been checked 6 times total. One in America
Man.
and 5 times in the Philippines.
Man. Damn. All right. I want to take it back real quick.
All
Where
right,
did you fly out of? Where did you fly out of? Or what was your
we
travel itinerary? Yeah.
it was from San Francisco
Hmm.
straight to Manila.
Okay, so you had no layovers nowhere. So
No, you don't
maybe
want
the
to lay over. You don't want to lay over because you are going to get, if you switch flights to a
whew,
different carrier, you are going to
mm,
be stuck there, because
wow.
now that PCR test that you had and all
Hmm.
that is invalid. You do not want to switch carriers. You want the same. You could switch. You could have a layover at an airport. Don't leave the
Hmm.
airport and don't switch carriers, and you are okay because you are still
Okay.
in the custody of that specific carrier.
Okay. So if you're still dealing with the same airline, you're good. But if you try to go from, let's say, Delta to Japan Airlines, trying to switch up,
Oh,
damn.
don't do that. You're going to be stuck. Like, let's say your layovers in Okinawa, you're going to be in Okinawa or Tokyo or whatever until you can get another PCR test and all printed out, all that
Wow.
stuff,
Mm,
and then get cleared to get back onto that next airplane.
shit. Hypothetically, how much was your plane ticket? Was it something that you purchased far out in advance, or was it something that was like a couple of weeks out? About what you can, so that they can get an idea of how much you paid in your flights.
So it was going to be for my wife and I. We got ours 99 days ahead because that was the
Okay.
cheapest ticket I could find
Okay.
round trip. Right.
Hmm.
So I only set up the first set of tickets round trip to Manila because I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. So I was like, no, because
Right.
you never can tell. You
Hmm.
mess around and show up, and then somebody cough on you, and now you got a fever, so you can't fly. Well, I mean,
Shit.
there's temperature checks every time you go into any of these restaurants. You got to scan your hand, and they say normal temperature. And then if it don't say normal temperature, guess what?
You in trouble, bro. They gonna let
Yeah.
you in for sure,
So
for
we
sure.
ended up paying $2,800 for our tickets.
Okay, and that's not bad. I mean, for two, it's about 1,400 a piece. That is, I mean, in the current time, in the current landscape, I think that's not a bad price at all. Okay,
No, but
all
I
right,
added stuff too, though. I added
okay,
that travel insurance just to make
okay.
sure if
Talk
all
about
of a
that.
sudden,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
in case
So,
we came up negative on that or positive on that PCR test, that we
mhm.
didn't get dicked out of the plane tickets because we didn't show up.
Okay. So talk about how if you can, I mean, as much information as you possibly can give, talk about the travel insurance and what foreigners need to have with them as far as travel insurance for COVID or health insurance or whatever for foreigners traveling now. Because I think Mike even mentioned it. And, it's something that's now starting to become a necessity for foreigners traveling to the Philippines. So whatever information you can provide on it, please share it with the
So
audience real quick.
I did mine on one of these airline travel booking things, and they gave you the option to get that coverage. So I
Hmm.
got their coverage, and then me being an insurance guy, you know, uh, I
Hmm.
sat there and went and bought $1 million of health insurance, and then like the
Okay.
evacuation and all that stuff to make sure. Um, Now, when I flew in, it was prior to the requirements for you to have any kind of that medical insurance. I just
Okay.
did it on my own. So I
Okay.
don't know what the current stuff is right now, but I would highly
Okay.
advise you to have some kind of coverage. I don't know what the Philippine government is talking about right now as far as requirements.
Hmm.
Um, I was just trying to get into the country, honestly, and if something happened to me and my wife, I wanted to get paid back for that medical expenses.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. All right. Now this has been like I don't know what it is about this question, y'all, but this is something that's been dinging and stumping a lot of foreigners. Okay. Is it now that we still have the 30-day stamp when we get into the country? Do they stamp our passport for like the 29 days like they did before? Or is there a required visa? How is it actually working out now? When you came through the line with your wife, are they giving you a quick 30 days like they used to before? Is that the rule or is it changed a little bit or what's actually happening when you officially come into the country? How long are you actually officially allowed to stay?
Now, and I checked on this because I happen to be rapping with somebody that actually works for immigration stuff, right? She
Hmm.
she's actually knows my wife, so
Okay.
we came in on the Balak Bayan um,
The
stamp.
visa.
So
Oh,
I
the
can so
stamp.
I can
Okay.
be here for a year
Okay, cool, cool,
now.
cool. Okay. It
So,
might be
but
different
everybody
for.
else, you're going to come in on that 30-day, and then you need to go get an extension.
Okay.
All right. Just
Okay.
like before, it's the exact same thing.
Okay. Well, that's
So
cool. I mean, I
so
get it.
that hasn't changed. That has not changed. There
Okay.
was somebody that went online and was talking out her ass, but no, because it's an executive order back from the
Hmm.
'60s, right?
Right.
So so yeah, basically their Congress and the Senate and all that would have to change it before that would be changed. So the
Okay.
same rules that applied before are the same rules
Right.
that apply now.
Okay. I remembered you sharing an interesting story about trying to when you were in the airport. You said you wanted to grab coffee at Starbucks. What did you say happened? I know you shared it with me, but go ahead and share it with the audience real quick.
So I had to show them that I had a vaccination. I had to show
Hmm.
them my little scan thing I just showed you guys earlier.
Hmm.
And yeah, you ain't getting a coffee, all right? If you ain't got that vaccination, you can't even get a damn Starbucks coffee.
You can't get a damn coffee if you thirsty as hell. If you're unvaccinated, they probably Or they'll probably, well, maybe if you're unvaccinated, they just keep you outside. Maybe, I don't know, but they probably ain't gonna let you into the establishment for sure.
Oh,
All right. All right, so let me get to a quick question real quick. He says, I heard on arrival now you need to show a ticket out of the country within 30 days and when they're just extended. Um Now, if I remember correctly, you always had to have a ticket out of the country prior to you getting into the country or showing them that you planned on leaving within that 30 days. Now, as far as the need for a ticket, as far as the need for a ticket when you're extending, I can only assume that's probably accurate. Like if you're going to extend for like after that 30 days, I'm going to stay for another 30 days. You might need to show them now, or you might need to have proof of travel insurance. I mean, there's probably a lot of different things that I think us foreigners need to look into in reference to visa extension, because they might want to see us with our travel insurance. How extended is our travel insurance or health insurance? Probably. Maybe they want to see, our ticket out of the country. So just thinking that you're going to get your throwaway ticket and be good and then extending, you not show them that you plan on leaving. I don't know. That could definitely hurt you if you try to finesse your way into, getting that. So I do believe
yeah.
that you still have to be able to show them. Anything you need to add to that?
Um, it a lot of the touristy places in Manila now keep in mind I already had that PCR code thing, right?
Hmm.
Um, but what was weird is I took my wife to go see some of the little touristy areas there. Um, and then made you do another one just for that area. That a contract trace just for like some fort thing where their hero was, or some old churches or whatever. Each one made me do a brand new scan code thing. And I'm just like, well, I got this one from the airport. And they're like, no, you got to do this one. I was like, oh, crap. So what I ended up doing is I bought this cheap knockoff. It's a Odo. It's like 6,000 pesos, a little bit over $100,
Hmm.
but it's a copy of a Samsung.
Yeah,
Uh,
I love that phone. It's great phone. Great phone.
yeah, I
Great.
mean it's 600 pesos. You load in some load on here, and
Hmm.
it really makes your life easier. And what you can do is tether your fake phone to your American phone, so you
Hmm.
have internet on your
Right.
American phone tethered to the Philippine phone.
Okay. So for you to be able to show your access codes and to get new codes and to fill out more code information and stuff. Guys, I'm telling you, there's a lot of codes going on in the Philippines, y'all. That's exactly what it sounds like to me. There's a lot of a need for you to have an access code or a QR code for you to be able to enter any building that you're going
Any
into.
public, any kind of public dwelling or
Mm,
building, you got to
right.
have that code because there's a guard at the front checking. I mean,
Great.
now my little nephew here in the
Hmm.
Philippines, he's 9 years old, and it's supposed to be 12 years and over is vaccinated. So
Okay.
we went to the Ayala Mall, and the
Right.
guard wouldn't let us in because he wasn't vaccinated. But we said, "Well, hold on a minute now. It's 12 years old, and he's 9 years old."
Right.
The
So
guy
that's the
didn't
rule.
care. He was like, "Nope, he's not
Yeah.
vaccinated. Y'all ain't getting in. None of y'all getting in."
Ain't
Yep.
playing with not playing with y'all. Guys, there's 16 of us in the building. If you haven't already put your like in, I'd highly appreciate that one. Y'all know the rules, man. Make sure you get the likes up. Again, guys, if you want to support, man, please feel free. Doc would highly appreciate that one, guys. This information is prime time. All right. So this is just any questions that you guys have to ask or any inquisitive things that you want to know about what it's like when you're physically in the country, being a traveler from the United States coming into the Philippines. Guys, feel free to ask. All right. Happy to be able to, parlay that information to our guest tonight. So my man says, say what? No vaccination, no coffee. No vax, no coffee.
So
That sounds pretty bad, man. Sounds pretty
you
bad.
might as well go to the sorry store, get some hot water and one of those little instant coffee packets, and that's all you getting.
That's fucked up. My man says this madness is spiraling out of control. No travel back to the Philippines until the end of 2023. I'm not against that thought process as well. But again, like I said, we got a lot of guys who are looking to get in right now. trying to be the first infantry, the first to enter. And like I said, if that's what they are interested into, I just want to make sure that I get somebody on to provide the proper information. My man says maybe the Filipinos will have a strike like Canada did, a trucker strike or like a jeepney strike or whatever. I don't know, man. I think right now, man, I think that what it is dude, Filipinos can't strike. I know they wish they could. Let's be honest. If they even remotely try to rebel, it's not going to end well. So let's let's just chill. Um, Mike says, Oscar, the QR code you are talking about is the S Pass, correct, or did they change it to something new? He
No,
said,
that,
was
that that's it's that same little thing I have here on my phone. Oh, hold on. Let me. Yeah, it's basically got all your information on there, like your birthday, who you are, your your
mhm,
cell phone number, your like where you're staying at, all that.
cool. So basically, that's just how they track you based on all your information and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not mad at it. They got to find a way to get in touch with you some way. It's all
Oh
good.
yeah. Oh,
Uh,
it's got your email on there too. When you fill out the paperwork, it's got your email, phone number, name, birthday, where you came from, where you stayed.
okay. My man says Filipinos don't protest because they're passive people. Marcos and the third, they ended all of that. Uh, I know they're definitely very passive. The throwaway ticket return ticket to another destination ticket within 30 days has always been a requirement. Yes, that's what I've heard that has always been a requirement too. I guess my question is, let's say you get it when you let's say you have it when you come into the country, right? But then you decide to extend it. Are you required to show that you plan on leaving prior to your next leave out of the country or prior to your next extension? So do I have to show them that I plan to leave the country before my next extension? That would be my question. Is there
Now,
another ticket that I have to do? Yeah, go ahead.
for me, they didn't even check that. They're more worried about my damn negative test results and QR code and
That's
all
true.
that. I never got checked for a return ticket for nothing. Nobody asked me nothing about no ticket. So I don't know. They were all worried about vaccination, the damn codes, negative test results. That's all they worried about. Immigration didn't ask me nothing when I went through. They just looked at the passports, looked at all the negative test results, vaccinations, all that, stamped my passport, and off we went.
You know what? And I think that that is probably a lot for them to even have to worry about. I figure if you made it through this far, chances are they probably could care less as long as you show them that you are, negative and that your test came back negative. That probably is something that they're only caring about right now. That I
Mhm.
think that probably is something that they're only caring about at the moment. My man says Philippines have the hardest lockdowns in the world. Not a single person protested. They are definitely built different. I agree. I mean, I agree. Maybe they could if they would, but they definitely are built different. Okay, this is a question that some people have asked, but I want to make sure that I get it understood. The 1500 foreigner entry. Did that even seem like something that was implemented? Like, remember back in the day, they were saying they were only allowing 1500 foreigners at a time or 1500 foreigners a day to come into the country. When you were there, I know you can't. I know you
Hell
can't
no.
actually count them. Nah, did it matter?
Hell no. When I showed up at like 4:30 in the morning, there was at
Hmm.
least 1,000 people waiting for their luggage. That place was packed, like shoulder to shoulder, and there was more
Yeah.
planes arriving. So I think that 1,500 thing is out the door, man. Because
Okay.
I mean, there was luggage and there was people everywhere. They had two lines scanning to make sure that you like for the fifth time that you were negative before they let you leave the airport.
Would you see that? Would you see it? I don't know why I'm thinking this, but the Philippines being as chaotic as it is, could you see anybody slipping by without them getting checked? And that was something that was never going to happen. They were on at
Hell
least that
no.
part. So they were at
I
least
mean,
on that part.
you're
Okay.
you're in a line with like
Hmm.
military people there watching, right? And then you would align, and there's already people waiting just to check your damn codes before you can even go anywhere else other than this isolated part of the airport.
Okay.
right? And then
Mhm.
9 feet later, they're checking you again. And then down the hallway to the left, where
Mhm.
immigration actually is, they checking
Right.
you again before you even get your luggage. So you ain't slipping by nobody.
Mm.
There is
Mm-mm.
no way. I mean, unless you like jumped out the back of the plane in the cargo hold.
Did a tucker roll?
Yeah, bro.
You ain't hearing that shit. Okay. Outside of the vaccinated passengers having to go a whole nother direction from the vaccinated, what would you say would be the most challenging experience about being an unvaccinated foreigner in the Philippines? Now, I covered a video on it. It was brief. I told them, maybe it's not the greatest time to come right now, all
No,
things considering. But from your perspective, what can you say about being an unvaccinated foreigner in the Philippines? Now, this is you specifically talking about it from what you're seeing, because of course you're vaccinated. But what have you seen would be like just the most difficult time or challenge for anybody who is actually vaccinated or unvaccinated in the country?
that you're going to have zero access to services until you got vaccination. And what I mean by services is I mean place to stay, food, uh,
Okay.
all that stuff. Basically, you're going to be stuck in quarantine. They have buses that are going to take you specifically to your hotel, your
Hmm.
quarantine hotel.
Right.
And like some young lady found out, woe is you if you sneak out that hotel because you want to go see that young lady prior to your 14-day quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-mm. No luck.
bad juju. But yeah, you're going to have access to nothing because
Yeah.
all
That's
the good places to eat that it's not a calendaria, that they're going to want you to have a vaccination card. If you go
hmm
to one of the malls just to get in to go eat at Mangin Assad for God's sakes or McDonald's or whatever, you're you got to be vaccinated, and then they're going to check you at like any McDonald's that's not actually like in a mall or
hmm
any restaurant. They want to see your vaccination card. So yeah, pretty much access to services and goods, you're asked
hmm
out. Even to go to a bank. So I did a little experiment for you, and I
Okay.
went to a money changer at the airport, and then I,
hmm
I went to a bank, the BDO bank. What a pain in the. But I went there to change some money to see what the difference in exchange rates were going to be, and
Okay.
how hard the process was.
hmm
And then I went to a little black market hole in the wall money changer, and that's actually where I got the best rate by like
hmm
I think point 0.2 pesos of a better
Okay.
rate. Airport was the worst. The bank uh, was the second best, and then the black market money changer on the corner, you know,
They
they were
usually
actually the
take care of
best.
you.
Yeah,
Mm.
I didn't have to show no ID. I didn't have to do none of that. But at the bank, I had to show two forms of ID. One was my passport. One was my California driver's license. I had to
hmm
do hella paperwork, and it took like 45 minutes to change $2,000.
Sometimes it ain't worth it, man. I mean, I get it. This you need money in the country, of course. I mean, you need the money. And I do believe that I've always thought that money changers always gave the best rate anyways, but for you to clarify that, I'm glad that it's still that money changers are doing good by the foreigners out there. All right.
Yeah,
So
it
you
was quick. It was in and out. As soon as they got done counting the money, bam, I was out.
Oh, they don't play, man. They want to get their money in and out. That's what's up. So for your unvaccinated foreigners, it's just going to be difficult for you to enter places anywhere that you go because basically they want to make sure that you're vaccinated, and if you're not, chances are they're not going to allow you into certain places. Okay? I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, it's fair.
you
I do believe, however, it's the four. You have to be tested on the fifth day and then again on the 14th day, right?
yeah.
I think it's the fifth for unvaccinated. You get tested twice. But this is hypothetically before you came to before you entered Cagayan I'm sure you probably got a place there. You were in Manila. So where did you stay? Did you have an Airbnb set up? Did you have a hotel, or where did you stay at when you were there?
So we stayed at the Ramada
Okay.
Encore there in Makati.
Okay. Okay.
And,
Okay.
and it was just
What
simply because I didn't know the area, and it was kind of close to the hospital where my wife needed to go take some visits. So
okay.
for the whole
Okay.
IVF thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it was pretty close to everything. I mean, the malls
Okay.
was like a 15-minute ride in a taxi, and that's just because of Philippine traffic.
Right.
So I mean, if it wasn't for the vaccination, I wouldn't have been able to get us a hotel anywhere, like
That's what I'm
anywhere
thinking.
outside of that quarantine hotel, because they wanted to see a
That's
vaccination card.
wow. I see, because I guess I'm asking because, like we briefly talked about in general, there's going to be a lot of guys trying to entertain a lot of girls. In fairness, right? So if you get an Airbnb, you are vaccinated. Heaven for heaven forbid, there's a reason why they won't let you in. Let's say, for example, you're trying to entertain a lady every night. I wonder if that's going to be a problem or how they're going to find out how that situation would transpire because I'm pretty sure usually how Airbnb works is when you get a place, you normally have to tell how many people are going to be staying in that location at one time. So if you say just you, yourself, and you, so just you, they see other people coming in. I'm not sure if they're going to try to stop those people from coming in, or if it's you and you say one other person. I mean, how do you think that's going to work? I mean, I guess I'm asking a hypothetical since you didn't actually stay in an Airbnb, but from what you've seen being there, would you see that being an issue? Them allowing different people to come in and out of their dwellings and stuff like that? Or you may see that as they don't really care. It's more or less the owner of the building or whoever, the owner of the place that you're renting that may have an issue with it. I mean,
Well, I don't think they're going to care as long as that person has a vaccination card.
okay,
I mean, that's what it's all about right now, right? Because when we were staying at the Ramada, my wife has family in Manila and like family friends and stuff, right? So they came and visited us like pretty much every day. There was people visiting us, right?
hmm
And nobody said boo hoo.
okay.
As
So this
long
has
as they
never
had
been
that
an issue.
vaccination card, they're just like, yeah, whatever. Now,
Okay,
on the 28th, I'm flying back to Manila, and
okay,
then we're going to be staying at an Airbnb there for a month before we fly
okay,
back to Cagayan for a month.
okay,
Um, so I'll have more of a perspective of what's going
okay.
down once we actually fly, because we're staying more in the center of the city now when
Right,
we
not
fly
that
back.
provincial stuff. Right. All right, I'm putting it
Yeah,
to you like this, guy. I'm gonna tell you right now, gentlemen. Let me make this abundantly clear because this is what I'm hearing. Make sure the girl that you dealing with is vaccinated. Okay. Make sure the chick you dealing with is vaccinated because if they ain't checking cards, it's gonna be tough for y'all to enter anything. There are still some Filipinos out there that are not vaccinated. Still some foreigners, of course, that are out there that are not vaccinated. So if the girl that you're dealing with is not vaccinated or she can't prove that she's vaccinated, it will be difficult for y'all to do anything. Y'all ain't gonna be able to go on dates. I mean, I don't know if there's gonna be an issue with her coming into your dwelling. It doesn't seem like that's an issue, but what if you're standing in a condo, right? And you guys know how condos work. There's usually a guard downstairs. That guard is probably going to ask to see your QR code or something. I would expect. I mean, unless they're used to seeing you, I would kind of expect them to at least want to see your card. Maybe not. But that's just what I'm thinking. My man says here in AC, they ask for my vaccination card everywhere. I keep it in my wallet. That definitely. Mike says that he loves the money changers in the SM supermarkets. They do pretty good, with exchange rates from time to time. I'm not sure what it is now, but chances are they do all right. Pedro, I see you, bro. My man says ridiculous. I miss the Philippines, but I'm definitely not getting that poison labeled as a vaccine. I understand, bro. Like I said, I will never judge anybody who chooses not to get it. I just know that time in country is going to be difficult without it. I'm not
yeah.
seeing there being anything.
Now, if you're unvaccinated, make
Hmm.
sure you have a place lined up to stay that's not a hotel, because they're
Okay.
not going to let you stay. And probably
Hmm.
'cause Airbnb, when I got that one for the 28th, for a month, they made me sit there and take a scan of my vaccination cards and my passport and my wife's passport in
Hmm.
order to stay there, right?
Right. Hmm.
So if you don't got that vaccination card, that Airbnb is probably not going to let you stay. So you better have some young lady already lined up that's going to let you crash at
Hmm.
her house.
Some.
You know, it's going to be going shopping for you. It's good, or
Hmm.
you better get that Grab or that Food Panda, whatever the hell it is, to come deliver food to your house. Because if not, you're gonna be hungry, thirsty, and you're gonna be out in the damn streets.
Damn, that struggle's real, bro. For real. That it's sometimes I feel it's not worth it. But hey, like I said, we're just giving you the information as it comes to us. Quick question: do the Filipino vaccination cards look the same or different than ours? I don't know if you've ever seen any Filipino vaccination card, but could you tell it looking different or is it the same as ours?
Well, it kind of looks the same because
Hmm.
my family members, my wife's family members here,
Right.
they have their cards, and ours is set up a little different. It says CDC on there and all that,
Right.
but
Right.
theirs
Right. Right.
has like a different Philippines logo on it, but it's basically set up kind of the same.
Hmm.
Um, as far as what I saw from family members, but yeah, it's basically set up the same. So it shows like your vaccination, the date, what one it was it Moderna, Johnson and Johnson, Pfizer, whatever. But basically all the same. It's just different header, different stuff like that.
Cool. Shout out to my man, Mr. Diaz. Appreciate you. My man, Cal Winston says, I just keep a pic of my vaccination card on my phone. Okay.
That
I mean, I
works.
don't see that.
That
Yeah,
works.
I believe, yeah, they're not going to really test that. Edward, I see you, man. The likelihood that a 20-something-year-old Filipino is vaccinated is probably slim unless they
Oh
have a service job. So
no,
they
if
are,
they got a job, period, or if they
they
want
need
to
to have
go,
injection.
like I saw a dude that looked like he was homeless. He had vaccination card just to get into the mall to ask for money.
Damn.
Yeah, just to
Hey,
get into the mall to ask for money.
that boy ain't playing, man. I feel it.
Yeah,
Like I said, that struggle's real, man. A lot of people are looking for differing destinations to go to. I get it. I mean, Philippines changed
yeah.
up a lot.
Everybody gonna be like this. The moment you leave your house, people are alone in their
Masked
cars
up.
or on a motorcycle. They just like this. Everywhere you go, outside your house, your
Uh huh.
hotel, your
Right.
condo, whatever, you
Masked
got that
up.
mask on unless you eating.
Oh
Unless you are
man.
eating, you got that, or you at the beach where everybody just says "F it." That's a completely different thing. Nobody was wearing it at the beach. Once they got to their
Area or whatever
little
they
beach
had set
house
up.
thing that you rent out,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Right.
once you go like onto the beach itself, and ain't no one got masks on because you're not wearing a mask into the water. But like everywhere you go outside of your place that you stay, even like
Mm-hmm.
in the hotel itself, you got a mask on the whole time unless you eating or drinking.
Crazy. And that sounds about right. I mean, you don't have your mask off unless you're eating and drinking. That sounds about accurate. I mean, the only times, especially in the Philippines, you'll expect to have your mask off. All right, guys. I see about 24 of us in the building, man. If you haven't already dropped your like, I'd highly appreciate that one. Don't forget to drop your like. This is, I would like to say, invaluable information provided by my man Oscar. So, guys, if you haven't dropped your like and you're enjoying the content, by all means, like button. Don't forget about it. Y'all want to support? Please feel free, but like I said, I'm happy y'all show up to at least hear this because I believe this information is beyond important to all of my guys looking to travel at least within the next month or two. I kind of feel like this is going to be around for a little while, at least the way things
Yeah,
are in reference to. So I'm going to say at least a couple of months or so, we got to at least be willing to deal with this. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to travel in March or April, even at the top of the summer when I'm considering dropping into the Philippines. Okay. But Oscar, here's the question, man. Here's the main one. I mean, we've talked about the travel to the Philippines. We've talked about what to expect, being vaccinated and unvaccinated. But let's have the heart to heart about what you've experienced since being back in the Philippines, what you've seen, not necessarily from the vaccination standpoint, but where the country stands as opposed to where it once was. Right, from things that you've noticed in the Manila area, things that you've noticed even in the Cagayan area. Some foreigners may not be able to understand it. I get it because they haven't been there yet. But for those of us who've had a chance to experience the Philippines prior to the pandemic, pre-pandemic, tell me what you're seeing now. Tell me what's the first things that come to mind, things that you're noticing outside of, temperature checks and QR code checks all the damn time.
Man, I think that the lockdowns have been kind of hard for people, honestly. Uh,
Hmm.
I mean, people still go to the malls and stuff. It was a lot more people. I think were a lot better off economically in Manila compared, but they already had more money than the people back in the provinces, right?
For sure.
But I think it was pretty rough for a lot of people in the province areas that they lost their jobs. They were
Right.
barely making it as it is, right? So you got a lot of people that, I mean, the pawn shops must have been busy as hell, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the businesses, they're still closed. Some of those
Mm.
businesses went out and never came back. So
Right.
like there's for example, it was 2 days ago. 2 days ago, there was a pretty good shawarma shop that I used to go to over here in Cagayan. They
Hmm.
gone. They gone. I mean, they were busy, right? So, I mean, they're out, and there's I'd say at least 10-15% of the businesses here in Cagayan are gone.
Mm.
Other people have kind of stepped up if they had some money, they saw the
Hmm.
opportunity, but there's still a lot of closed up places. In Manila, I took like some long walks in the daytime,
Hmm.
just to go check stuff out,
Right.
and then because that's what I like to do. And there was a bunch of businesses that were closed there in Makati area. Um,
Right.
the real fancy like mall type areas. Uh, they were okay. There were some places that were closed out, but
Mm.
the whole Prada and the whole Gucci and Louis
Right.
Vuitton, those places, they were open,
Hmm.
but they already had the money to stay open. Uh,
Of course.
but yeah, some of the smaller shops that were there in the mall are gone. I mean, they're just out. Um,
Likely never to return. Yeah,
yeah.
likely never to return. I used to. I
So,
I still say this. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. You good?
but yeah, I mean, I even saw McDonald's that was closed in Manila. So, and that McDonald's is about
McDonald's
real
never
estate.
closed. Yeah,
Yeah.
they never fucking close ever. You see a McDonald's close, that's a problem, like a serious, serious, serious issue. Because I can't even imagine them letting them close. That's a franchise. That's a franchise. Unless, how does a McDonald's go belly up though? That don't make no sense, bro.
So since it was a franchise, probably what happened was the person didn't save money for a rainy day. And then when they had
Mm,
those lockdowns where people couldn't go, they just didn't
mm.
have enough money to stay open.
That sounds about right, and that's sad. The way I look at it, man, I believe the government still takes care of the poor for the most part. The rich, like you said, they're pretty good. So it's usually the middle class that suffers. The lower middle, middle class, upper middle, they suffer, especially if they were the ones that had jobs that were taken away from them during the pandemic. It's not so much that they had the opportunity to work from home. I just think that a lot of them had their jobs just literally taken away from them, and as a result, this is what they're stuck with. This is now the new reality, and it sucks ass. I gotta admit, man, it definitely sucks to hear that people have to go through it. But I mean, I like to believe there's opportunity there, but people like to see there's some things that people don't take into consideration. They like to think that the Philippines had all the advantages that we had as foreigners living in the States. The PPP loans and the fucking stimulus checks and all the shit that we got to stay afloat if needed. They pumped all that money into the economy. Man, Philippines ain't about to do no shit like that.
No, the only
No
people that were
hell.
getting loaned back then, during
Yeah.
the lockdowns, I think were those Metro Bank Seaman loans, or
Hmm.
anybody like that that's got a pretty much guaranteed job, because you had all those OFWs getting sent home. So that was a
True.
lot of money not coming into the Philippines.
Oh yeah, it definitely got Yeah, I believe that. What do you call it? Remittances and stuff like that. That's usually like the big money that comes into the country. If it's not us foreigners sending money to Filipinos, it's usually OFW sending money home and stuff like that, or it's tourism. So you imagine your two biggest forms of income have kind of halted or at least slowed down to an extent. That's tough. Like that probably took a major toll on the country and businesses that were open. And I guess this is now the new reality. I don't know if it'll ever get better. That's what I'm thinking, bro. I don't know if it ever gets better.
I I think that it's going to take a while, but with tourism coming back, I think that it'll trickle down. It's just going to take a little bit. You know what I mean? Because country like the Philippines ain't going to just jump up like getting a PPP load. You got to
Mm,
have some OFW money or something
to put
to
into
start back
some
up.
new. That's very true. Actually, guys, my man Oscar came in through Manila, and then from Manila he flew to Cagayan de Oro. So right now in the Mindanao region and CDO. So I've been hearing things, man. I don't know if you're hearing this while you're actually out there, but I'm hearing that Cebu is operating just a little bit differently. Somebody sent me a message like, "Yo, did you hear what the governor from Cebu said? They're not going to have these restrictions and stuff like that." I don't know if that's come through, something you've been hearing or something that you've known anything about. But if you can, please enlighten if you've heard anything about how Cebu is operating at the moment. It might
So
take somebody. Yeah, go ahead.
so one of my wife's cousins, she
Right.
is a nurse in Cebu,
Okay.
and she said that it's a lot more chill than it is here in Cagayan. But I don't know exact
Mm-hmm.
specifications. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that's all I was told is a lot more chill than it is here in Cagayan. That was it.
I have been hearing that too. Like I've heard people say, "Yo, check out what the governor said." They were like, "Yo, the governor saying the rules are a lot more relaxed." I don't know if but here's the question. I heard that they're a little bit more relaxed in the rules, but does that relaxation come in the form of how they treat unvaccinated foreigners? You see, or is that just for your vaccinated allowed to go into certain places like they would in Manila and stuff like that? See, there's a lot of questions surrounding how different areas are treating foreigners as they're starting to let us come back in. Clearly, Manila's on some super lockdown. Like, look, you ain't going nowhere for shit unless you got a QR code. Would you say Cagayan is about the same or no?
Oh
How
yeah.
how was Cagayan?
Oh
Cagayan's
oh
pretty
oh
on it.
yeah. It's exactly the same way as Manila. But I mean, I got used to it already. I just already have my phone in my hand. Once I get out the taxi, for them to
Mm.
scan that code thing and show my vaccination cards. I mean, I just kind of got used to it because everywhere you go, they want to see that shit.
So my man Will says probably there's going to be a big fight between the IATF and the Cebu local government coming pretty soon. So that March 1st restriction ease to allow the unvaxxed may or may not happen. You got to give it time. You definitely have got to give it time. And I think this is one of the big talking points that a lot of foreigners are overlooking right now. I've said it. I think you would probably agree with this one. Probably a lot of other foreigners would say they agree too. But I'm gonna ask you: do you think right now is the time for foreigners to come to the Philippines? I want to hear your honest answer on how you feel that way, because I want to hear it directly from you before I give my points. Go ahead. Right now,
So,
physically, if they could buy a plane ticket to travel to the Philippines tomorrow, be there in February, do you think it's ideal for foreigners to travel to the country right now?
now I'm in a certain situation because of my spouse
Mm,
wanting
right.
to see her mom. You know what I mean? But
Right.
if I was
Family.
a single man wanting to
Single.
come here, then I would not. I would hang back a couple months, let things ease up a little bit, let other people go through the bullshit that I've gone through, and
Mm,
then, once the Philippines opens up a little bit more and it's not so strict, and you can't get a table at a restaurant because there's already a certain amount of people in the restaurant, so you got to
right.
wait outside, and then once one couple leaves, then your ass can go in there to eat. That happened yesterday at Greenwich. The guard was
Okay.
like, "Nah, restaurant's full," but there was tables open. But he was like, "Nah, you gotta wait. There's like a 30-minute wait." So I was like, "Well,
Mm.
we ain't gonna sit around here for 30 minutes."
For some
So we
damn
ended up having,
Greenwich, bro.
and it was damn yeah, and it was Valentine's Day, so it was hell getting a taxi. Right,
Mm.
got all
Crazy.
the way up to SM Uptown, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then we were able to get a seat at some Chinese food joint outside, outside the actual restaurant itself because they were full inside. But they
Mm.
accommodated us, probably because I'm a foreigner, and
Right.
then got us a table outside, with everybody walking by or whatever. I was like, hey, whatever, man. We just trying to get some food, and every restaurant was packed yesterday because of Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Yeah. Damn.
Yeah,
So not
I got the
only have
flowers
the,
right there that I gave to my wife.
that's what's up. So outside of businesses being shut down, the inability to be able to sit down and go to a restaurant and enjoy it if it's packed or crowded or all the tables are filled up because of social distancing, not being able to go to mall unless you got QR scan codes. Heaven forbid you leave that stuff at home by accident and now
Oh
you got to
yeah,
go all the way back home just to get it. Guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I love the Philippines more than the next one. I built my whole entire channel around it, but damn, I don't feel like it's worth it for us to be making such drastic moves at a time like this. Now, there's a lot of guys that have been in the back waiting for the time to come because they've been having girls that they've been wanting to see and stuff like that. But I think she's just gonna have to wait because it doesn't seem like it's worth it right now. It seems like
no,
there's gonna be a
I've seen
lot
some.
more. Go
I've
ahead.
seen some like other foreigners here,
Hmm.
like grocery shopping or whatever, and I don't know, man. They seem miserable. Like they're living here in Cagayan. You could tell they're living here. They've been here a long time, and they some salty motherfuckers. I'm telling you what.
Okay, okay. Well, that's a great topic of conversation. Have you had physical conversations with any other foreigners that are living in your area right now? Have you had conversations with them to see how they're feeling about the current state, or it's just something that you've noticed kind of as you just kind of been checking the scene out a little bit?
So, I've tried to be friendly. I've probably
We try.
seen maybe 10, 10
Hmm.
foreigners here, and they have all been salty, giving you the side eye, and like want nothing to do with you, bro. So I was just like, I'm not even bothered talking to this dude the way he's looking at me.
Yeah, they
And they
do
all
be.
like 60 years old or older. You know what I'm saying? So, but they just look at you like
They're
just
not feeling
all
it. They
all
they ain't,
sideways.
they ain't feeling it,
Some of
man.
them are like British dudes or maybe
Hmm.
Australian, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, they just look at you a certain way, and you're like, all right, I'm not gonna even deal with this person. I want nothing to
They,
do with them, just the way they're looking at me.
yeah, that's kind of sad. I mean, I get it because it was kind of like that before we even came to the country, before all of this happened. Some of them still had that same energy, but I guess now the fact that they had to live through it probably does create some bitterness in it all. I mean, because Chosen One was right, bro. I do not believe that any other country had lockdowns like the Philippines did. The whole
No,
back and forth. Y'all remember, man? 1 minute it's general whatever, then it's back to extreme, and there's that and the other. Oh, you can't be out on a certain day. Nobody's out on Sunday. Nobody's allowed to travel on Sunday, bro. I don't think I could take that. I used to think about what I would be like if I was actually there during that time, and I'd probably feel the exact same way as a lot of those guys. I mean, because that's a tough thing to have to go through. Definitely a tough
yeah,
thing to have
they seem just a little salty and a little bit
to.
like, yeah, they've been through some shit, and they just want nothing to do with nobody that even looks like them. I mean, yeah,
They're
yeah,
looking at you.
these folks over here that've been through all this, they looking something
They,
else.
they they were drained. They've been pretty much they. It's taken the fun out of wanting to come to the Philippines. If you ask me, that's the best way to. It's deflated the fun out of the Philippines. It's more fun in the Philippines. Let's just say they've taken the fun out of that shit because it's not the same. And this is me on the outside looking in. I ain't gonna lie, I'm not there, but I can almost tell that it's just not what it used to be. Right? It's not what it used to
No,
be.
and then inflation has probably put a little bit of a hamper on
Strain.
some of these folks.
True,
Made them
true.
even a little bit more salty when they sit there and now their pension is not going exactly how they were thinking.
Right, because nobody saw this coming. We thought you would think your pension was going to cover you for the years to come. That's definitely now. This is something we need to talk about too. They definitely had liquor bans. I think, I think, I think that normally when you're going through something, for some reason, I hate to say it, but liquor kind of helps you get through it. Best way for me to say it. But the fact that they took that away from us foreigners and people in general, I think that put a lot of people on edge. I'm pretty sure people found a way to get their alcohol if they needed it, of course. But for the most part, for the general, the general audience, man, it probably did not help that they took, their alcohol away from them, and not only for a couple of days. They did that shit for about a month, I think, or longer. So I can't even begin to imagine they struggle, bro. I cannot.
Yeah. I
So I'm
mean,
gonna say probably.
In
Hmm.
California, a liquor store was considered an essential business.
Ain't that a bitch? Mm.
Yeah,
Doesn't
the
that,
state of California, like the insurance
it's
department sent me a letter saying I wasn't allowed to close. Even if I was sick, they don't give a damn. They were just like, nope, your office can't close. I was like, really? Really? So I was like, okay. And all the liquor
how does
stores and
that
gas
work?
stations were
Wow.
open and grocery
Hmm.
stores were open. Remember how we had that lockdown in the very beginning and
They
like
did shut down
everything was
everything.
closed
Hmm.
except for liquor stores, the hardware store, grocery store, and gas stations.
Essential businesses.
Yeah,
Uh,
I remember that.
mm, mm-mm. My man says, yeah, the more fun in the Philippines is gone. They said that will even come back after the pandemic is well and truly over. Yeah, they'll probably change that slogan. They're trying to build it back, though. I think they're trying to get foreigners to come back in, but I don't think that that's going to change anything right now. He says, is it any truth to them not giving extension over 30 days, or is it just rumors?
No, that's rumors.
Great. I didn't think so. I honestly didn't think that they would stop you from extending your trip outside of 30 days. You get your stamp, you show, that you plan to leave, you can come in, extension 30 days, you should be all right. So my man was a little bit late when he came in. He asked him to explain the 48-hour PCR test. Can you drop that one more time before we check out 48 hours? What does it mean? 48 hours before what?
So it's got to be 48 hours prior to your departure. So if it goes past that 48 hours, like let's say you got your test at 1 p.m. 2 days
Hmm.
ago, and now it's 2 days prior or later, and it's 2 p.m., your test is not valid no more. Once it hits that 48 hours and 5 minutes or whatever, they don't care. They don't care. Saw somebody get hemmed up a couple hours late, and they missed their flight. They were not going. So I mean, they're not playing.
48 hours to
It
your
used to
plane.
be 72 hours,
Right.
and that, and I almost got my test 72 hours prior, so I would have been stuck too. But luckily, I saw that it was 48 hours when I was checking because
Hmm.
that first scan code, the health thing that you do for the Philippines,
Right.
that still says 72 hours. They never
Okay.
changed it. And
Oh.
then they ask you about quarantine hotel, even though that you don't have to, as long as you're vaccinated, you don't have to be in the quarantine hotel. So
Hmm.
you just have to pick one of the names randomly, and
Oh,
then
okay.
and all this other stuff. But it's not a requirement anymore. And basically now, another thing I forgot is that you don't have to get checked if you're vaccinated. You don't have to get another test 5 days later. What they
Okay.
are asking you to do is self-monitor for 5 days. So that's it. You just have to self-monitor yourself for 5 days. If you're feeling not so good, take your ass to the hospital, get tested again,
Mhm.
and then go from there. But
Right.
but yeah, that whole mandatory get tested thing, if you're vaccinated, doesn't apply. They just want you to self-monitor.
Okay. Mm. Ah, man. My man says they have to fully open to all foreigners eventually. Otherwise, who's going to pay Rafi Tofol's salary? That's actually pretty fucking funny, though. Tofo gonna make some money regardless, because guys be sending their money overseas, even if they never met the girl. My man says, I'm not going to the Philippines right now. It's too tough or not enough. It's not worth it to go through it. I agree. Um, my man says in the Philippines, you couldn't leave your street at the start of the pandemic. He said they put blockades up with sticks and trees. True story. I believe it. I mean, the Philippines
Well,
were definitely countries that I felt were probably on the drastic end of the entire thing of how they tried to somewhat contain the spread of the virus. And even then, as you guys know, it didn't really work because they still got the shit everywhere. So what can we do?
yeah, like the second day we're in Manila, I wanted to go check out that Manila boardwalk thing along Manila Bay,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so you had to get show your vaccination cards, get your thing scanned, and then go. You can go inside once you wait in line.
Hmm.
Because I mean, they had literally the whole place blocked off with cops at every possible entrance to make sure you couldn't sneak in. Because you
Right.
know how people be trying to sneak into places.
They gonna try. Yeah, they gonna try.
And then they had cops walking around with big ass like bamboo sticks ready to whack somebody if you took your mask down to take a photo.
Damn. What
Yeah,
the
because
man?
the only reason this
That's
one old Filipina Nine didn't get smacked was because she was old. But the cop walked up and tapped her on the shoulder like, "Hey, you better put that mask back up."
Bruh, it ain't worth it, man. I don't know about y'all, man. That shit don't sound fun at all. It just truly doesn't. My man says, what about the CDC card? Our vaccination cards are accepted in the country.
Yep.
My man Cal Winston said, take a picture of it, and that should be more than valid for you to be able to get around. Take a picture of it because they're really going to focus more on the QR code and the scan code, right? That's going to be what's most important. How they're going to be able to contact trace you. So I think that as long as you have a picture of your vaccination card on your phone, that should be able to hold you over. And then the QR codes, you definitely need to make sure you have that for each area that you go to, right? Manila has its own scan QR code. When you go to a different city outside of the region, of course, like my man traveled to Cagayan de Oro, the Mindanao region, you got to get a whole different scan code for a whole different area that you're in. So not only do you have to do that, you got to make sure you keep up with that stuff because if you don't, guess what? They're gonna ding you, and you're probably gonna be in trouble. Like, it probably ain't gonna help you at all. So, gentlemen, the only thing that I can tell you right now is you guys now have the information. Is it full? Probably there's some things we could definitely add into it, but there are things we're gonna learn as time goes along. We're not gonna get everything in the beginning, right? This is just from the firsthand experience of a recently recently came to the Philippines. All right. My bad. I don't know if my thing was disconnected. I'm sorry. But this is from a traveler who just recently came back to the Philippines, y'all. Just touched down. This is his experiences. This is what he's sharing with us. As time goes along, there's going to be more information. There's going to be more revelatory moments. So what you got here is a firsthand experience. I hope that you guys take heed to this. There was a lot that you definitely needed to hold on to, especially when it came to the changing of planes, man. I did not know that was going to be a problem, right? That's because
Throw your
nobody's
hands
thinking
up,
about that.
guys.
Nobody's thinking about that shit at all. I'm not thinking about it. So I
I was
doubt anybody else was thinking about it. So go ahead.
the,
I don't know what you're
the
saying.
airline didn't tell me shit. Well, anything about that? You know how they send you your little like advisements and all that. Please make sure you have your card. please make sure you have this. Please make sure you have that. They didn't say nothing about, hey, if you switch planes, you on a layover, you fuck. They didn't say nothing. But yeah.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear
Yep,
me?
there you go.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. But yeah, I'm sorry. Did you already explain it? My shit was fucking up. I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah.
like the Philippine Airlines and
Mhm.
like any travel site, they didn't say shit about that. They didn't say a damn thing. But yeah, it comes to fruition that if you switch planes during a layover, all that 48-hour PCR test that you did is invalid, and you got to get
Wow.
another one before you can continue on to your next location.
And it's not, and I bet you it's probably not as easy to get tested. Probably if you like have it, like if you're in like Korea or Japan, you got to go somewhere where they're going to even test you. Who knows how much money that's going to cost? Who knows how quickly you're going to get those results back? Because sometimes you can do the rapid test and you can get it in what, an hour or two, maybe. Sometimes you got the test that it takes a couple of days to get it. So you have to make sure that you're at least getting tested that gives you the documentation, right? So you got to make sure that you have a test
Yeah,
that
like
requires.
like they're in Manila at the airport. They have a testing facility, so you can get a
Hmm.
test because in order to come back to the United States from the Philippines, it's not 48 hours, it's 24 hours. So if you're 24 over 24 hours, the United States won't let you come home. You got to be tested before you can fly back within 24 hours. Philippines says 48, US says 24.
So this shit ain't worth it, bro.
So I hope that you don't have a plane ticket like real early in the morning. So, because if you
Mm-mm.
miss out on getting that test, guess what? You ain't
You
coming
you gotta
home.
get
You better
right.
rebook
You
your
gotta
plane
get
ticket.
gotta test again. Jesus. So what we were talking about before, guys, with the airlines changing planes, your QR code or your I'm sorry, your 48-hour PCR test becomes basically void. That's pretty much what it is. Change planes, it becomes void.
Yep.
Man, this
And if you
is
leave the
this is
airport, you definitely fucked.
wow. See, and these are the things they're not going to tell you guys. That's the fucked
Yeah.
up part. This is why I felt this was something that needed to be done. Because the information you're hearing here, it's not going to show up on any documentation. It's not going to show up on any forms and shit. It's just something you're going to either have to experience. Because again, when I book my tickets, guys, I book my tickets and I do have separating flights. Usually, when I touch down in JFK, I change a whole different airlines. I'm going to a whole different part of the airport, the international travel that has me on Japan Airlines that flies me through Narita to the Philippines. They're gonna be like, "Sir, how you plan to get on this flight? You don't even have a PCR test that's valid. Oh, that was valid for that airline, but it's not valid for this one, even though my plane ticket was booked at the exact same time." Understand me? This ain't nothing to play with, bro. this is some this some reality check shit that if you ain't ready for it, it's gonna be a hard trip for you before you even get into the country. This is before you even remotely touch down in the Philippines, man.
Yep.
Pedro, yes, I recommend direct flight. If you can get
Yeah.
it, get it. Yes, if you can get it, get it.
What I think would be the easiest way would be
Hmm.
to, like, say, fly into San Francisco or Los Angeles
Right.
like the day prior to your flight to the
Mhm.
Philippines, right? And have a direct flight from one of those two places and get a
Exactly. I
whole
think
new
California's good.
PCR test while you're
Uh huh.
there, right?
Hmm.
So I mean,
Exactly.
basically, you're just flying into there to get your PCR test. That way, you're not hitting that 48 hours. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to go over because it's from your original destination. You know, exit the
Hmm.
United States to get to the Philippines. So if your flight was, say the whole thing's going to take you 50 hours, well, you're over. You're
You are
already
definitely
over.
Eh, Okay. So what is the likelihood that an airline will accept your PCR test if you show that you had a connecting flight? You think that there's just no way? I mean, because I'm trying to figure out if there's a viable way, or you know what, guys, that's probably something you should call ahead for. And then
Yeah.
so that's what I will say. Definitely something you should probably call ahead for. If you're not going to do the direct flight from like a California directly to Manila, call ahead and say, "Yo, this is my flight itinerary. I plan on, my 48 hours is good until what time? Will I be able to get this to connect to this flight? Do I need to call them? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to get verification from? So, what's your name? Who is this person? Get all the information. So, if they say, yes, sir, it's okay, make sure you know who you talked to that said it was okay, right? Because, this is going to sound beyond crazy, but the last thing you want is anything that's going to obstruct your travel. Come on, guys. There's a lot of shit we got to deal with when we touch down if this is what you choose to do. You don't want any damn thing that's going to obstruct your travel until you get there. All right. And Kay, I'm with you, bro. It sounds crazy as hell. All right. So my man Zay, what's up with you, bro? He says, what if you have a layover in Manila for 12 hours, but the final destination is Cebu? What would you need? Would you need to get another
No,
PCR test? Yeah, I didn't think so. Once you're in the Philippines, you should be good. Once
you're
you're there,
good.
you're good.
They didn't check my they didn't check that negative test results anymore once I landed in Manila, because when we flew from Manila to Cagayan, um, only thing they wanted to see was a negative test, or the vaccination cards, and that our scan code, and then of course the
Okay.
passports and the airline ticket. But they didn't care no more about no negative test. They just cared that we were vaccinated.
Okay. Once they know you're vaccinated, that shit's nullable. You're good. He says, so is it from the international airlines?
Yes.
I think, yeah. Okay. So it is from.
Inside of actual inside of the Philippines, if you fly from island to island to island to island, you're cool as long as you've been vaccinated and you got a passport.
Right. So once you get into the country, you get your codes, you should be good. There shouldn't be any need to 48-hour PCR, nothing. The
No,
QR code is
no.
going to be until you start to travel from another island, then you need another QR scan code for the different places you travel into. So if you're going to Mindanao from the main island of Manila, you need a whole different code. But that's just what, just filling out some information online, pretty much.
Yeah, they have like each island has their own little site, right?
Okay.
And all you're gonna
Right.
do is log in, and you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
fill out the information, and then
Mm-hmm.
screenshot. So you don't gotta keep doing it. You
Mm-hmm.
screenshot that QR code onto your phone,
Right.
and just open
Mm-hmm.
up that one that they want for that island, and then just
Mm-hmm.
show them, hey, bam, here you go. They say, oh,
Okay.
okay. And then each
Cool.
guard at the mall, they scan it every time you go in. So you got to
Oh,
show them every time, and they scan your QR code every time.
okay. Cool. He says, is this before flight or on landing? They ask for these papers upon landing. Whenever you have to show the QR code and all of that stuff, that's when you land, correct? When they're asking to see all that
Both,
paperwork?
both.
Both. Okay. So both.
So PAL, Philippine Airlines, they wanted to
Mm-hmm.
see that QR code. They wanted to see the negative test results and my vaccination card all prior to the flight. And then once we landed, the whole craziness started, where they checked us like 5 times, between the landing and the hotel.
Okay. So yeah, you got to have your paperwork legitly squared away at all entrances when you're leaving and when you're coming through. Okay. He says, does the PCR test have to be done from an approved lab? Yeah, I don't think you can do a home test,
What?
can you? Is
No, it's not a home test. What I did is I went to one of these little dock in the box places on the corner that was offering the
okay,
test for like 100 and something bucks. So
okay,
my wife and I did it. They email you your results within like 2 hours or some shit. You print
okay.
it out, and then you just
Mm-hmm.
put it in. Make sure that it's in one of those uh, file holders, that so it doesn't get messed up. Right, like it's in the plastic. They're
Okay.
not going to scan it or nothing. They just want to be able to check the box off saying, yeah, I saw it. That's it.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, they don't really care. They just want the thing to say negative.
Say negative, show that you got somebody to sign off on it, and that's pretty much it. They'll give you your scan codes, and just make sure the time is right because they're going to check the time, of course, right?
Yeah,
The
because
everything's
the guy at
or
the
not.
counter, when he checked
Hmm.
all that stuff, he collected our passport, our vaccination cards, and that negative test, and he went over and scanned it into a computer, and then he came back and gave us all our stuff back. And that was at Los Angeles. That wasn't here in the Philippines. Not Los Angeles, San Francisco.
My man says PCR test for every flight, even domestic, equals money. Dudes are gonna burn through their budget when they test. Probably cost as much as a domestic flight in the Philippines. You're likely gonna spend a lot of money if you're not careful. I can say you're gonna probably spend some getting tested and all of that stuff, but it comes with the territory. If this is what you want,
No,
gentlemen.
that PCR test isn't for the domestic flights. It's only for the international flights.
I think what he was saying was it's going to cost you about the. Oh no, hold on. Okay, he did say that for every flight, even domestic. Yes, no. You once you're in the country, you get the scan code, which is different. So you're not going to pay every domestic flight that you take to get tested. So that's not the issue. Only from your international flight once you actually touch down in the island, then they track you differently, right? It's a different way of keeping up with your testing and contact tracing and stuff like that. That's the scan code. Again, guys, for those that didn't catch the beginning of this one, guys, I am going to leave it up so that you guys can watch this from beginning to end as many times as you need to. Hell, I'm gonna need to go back and go through it again. Thank God I can email him if I need to, if I have any questions. So yeah. If I fly from Cincinnati to Chicago on Delta and then from Chicago to Doha and from Doha to Manila, that's a lot of stopping, bro. You said, "Will you be fine?" I can't guarantee that one. That sounds like way too many stopovers, bro. That's the problem. That sounds like a lot of places to go, man.
No, you won't be fine because you're switching from Delta to Qatar Airways.
Yeah, that's
So,
that's
so
tough.
you fucked.
So you're now dealing with a whole new system, a whole new airline that's probably going to require a whole new uh, testing or QR code from for that particular airlines to fly you. You guys better learn. You got to ask questions, please. I would call my airlines right now before I book anything that requires me to have connecting flights because you could damn near miss your flight trying to connect and then trying to see if you can find a place to get tested inside of an airport. If not, it's going to cost you your entire trip, probably the budget for your trip just to get a quick enough test for you to be able to get on the airlines. Not unless the airline offers the test themselves, but I don't think they do that because they're not really qualified. So I can't see there being a rationale around it, guys. That's pretty much where we stand. How bad question is how bad do you really want to go to the Philippines, gentlemen? How bad do you really want this? That's the question I'm gonna ask you. How bad? What does it really mean to you? Honestly, what does it really mean to you to travel? If you can answer that question and flip a coin and you say it's worth it, hey, just know that it's gonna take time and you're gonna have to really ask questions and take your notes. That's all I can tell you. He said, when I was away in fall, it cost me 300 for a testing for a return flight. So $300 for a test to return flight. Okay, quick question. I assume that you have to be tested in the Philippines before applying back to the United States. You said that was 24 hours, right? That one was
Yes,
24
sir.
hours. Okay, so here's my talking point, gentlemen. Not only do you have to worry about what it takes for you to get to the country, God, think about what it takes for you to get out of the country too, and the shit that it's gonna require you for them to leave. So you have to understand, is your little 2 week vacation worth all of that? If you're lucky enough to stay a month, is it worth all of that? Hell, if you're lucky enough to stay a month and a half to 2 months, gentlemen, is it really worth all of that? Is the ass really worth it? Because I know that's what you're coming to the country for. That's all I want to know. Or could you just fall back just a little bit, relax yourselves, and kind of see how this plays itself out? All right. That's just the questions we got to ask ourselves. This is an internal question. I'm just asking y'all to reflect at this point because I can't tell you what's worth it to you or not. The most I ever paid for a test overseas was $35. It's probably not bad, but I don't think the Philippines is going to be super expensive to get a test. Is it expensive to
No,
get tested in the Philippines? I didn't think so. Maybe 60. I think my girl paid somewhere around 3 to 4K. Maybe I think. I don't know. It could be different. Could be for different things, but in the U.S. it's like $100 to $400. That's them trying to make up for all the money for all the free jabs they gave us. I guess that's where they're getting their money at for us to be able to get that stuff. So who knows, man? Ren, how you doing, brother? Appreciate you coming through. Instead of a PCR test, can I breathalyze test detect the virus instead? No. Nah, they gonna make you. I wish. I wish it'd make it easier, but probably not. Look at the stress. Yes, sir. That is definitely stressful. Too much work. A lot more work than you guys will ever know. Chosen one who's been in AC for his whole life. Love you, brother. He says wait for 6 months. I think about 6 months or so. It could there could be some. How can I say this? Some clarity of sorts. I'm not going to say it's going to be completely taken care of, but I do believe there should be some clarity in the time to come. So give it some time, gentlemen. I would say hell nah, it ain't worth it too, man. He said for me 2 months. And is it the question? If you're gonna stay for 2 months, is it worth it to do all that? I would say it would be, man, because the 2 month trip is cool. But then again, you got to understand what it's gonna take for you to travel around the country because you're not just staying in one place, sir. I know you wanted to go to different places and different islands, different scan code, QR codes everywhere that you go. Although that's not difficult, you can't forget to do it. That's the problem. Even though it's probably not difficult, you can't forget to do it.
and you got to make sure that that resort's still open. Because
True.
without tourists
Wherever
for
you're
that
going.
long, are they still open?
Yeah. You and and sometimes the travel brochure or the website ain't gonna tell you. Sometimes that update be like 6 months behind. In the Philippines, bro, that shit don't be that shit do not be adding up sometimes. I'm like, damn, y'all still look like that? You sure? Maybe, maybe not. CVS, they said that they give out free COVID tests. Okay. I think CVS, I do believe that they do give out some free tests. I know, see, for me, I work in the school system. There are some places that will give you free testing as well, and that's probably what I will do. If this is the route that I choose to go, I'll probably do that as well. All right. My man says fly to Guam and then from Guam, go to the Philippines. Quicker trip. I'm pretty sure you can get tested there if needed. I mean, California is still not a bad place to go. They do a throat swab, but it's just as bad as the nasal swab at CVS. I guess is what you're talking about. Uh, International Voice of Reason, are refundable airline tickets available? If you book through the airline, maybe. But if you book through one of these travel websites, it's probably going to be a fucking headache to try to get your money back because you got to talk to a customer service agent, and they may or may not give you your money back. So Oscar, did you book directly through an airline, or did you book
Uh,
through you? Yeah, quick question. We didn't actually touch on that one, but did you book directly?
no, I went through one of those travel ones. That's how I got the insurance and the cancel insurance and
Okay,
all
so
that
they
all
okay.
that different stuff. Uh, just in case something happened or I lost
Mm-hmm.
luggage. You just never know. So yeah, I ended up paying a little bit more. I think it ended up being out of that $2,800. I think like 300 and something of it was all the different add-ons that I put on there.
And guys, you know what? I'm glad you said that, bro. This is not the time to be cheap, y'all. I'm gonna tell you right now, Doc is one of the biggest budget friendliest travelers ever. I will try to cut corners to buy a ticket for everything or everything that I love. I'm not gonna be cheap on my ticket this time, y'all. You can't be cheap on your ticket. There's too many risk factors or too many variables at play that will have me at a point where I'm like, look, man, I gotta pay this money. I gotta pay what it takes for peace of mind. Whether I use it or not, I gotta pay it for peace of mind. So please don't fall cheap on some shit because you want to try to cut corners and save a couple of dollars. You can pay for your insurances, man. Pay for your health insurance, your travel insurance. Just get it all. That's what I would say, man. My man Kyle, what's up, man? He says I'm fully vaccinated with the booster. I'm trying to go in March. Good luck. Anybody else who travels in the near future and you guys want to come on and explain your travel experiences, man, we can create a whole panel. Oscar, of course, you'll be back on it with us. But if you guys want to come on, if you want to, I think that it would be a good idea to, definitely see how everybody's travel experience is. Because again, Oscar's traveling on a Balik Bayan visa, which is different than your normal foreigner, everyday single foreigner, 30-day stay and keep it pushing, because his visa is good for a year. He can stay as long as he wants to. But for the newbies, the guys who may be traveling on the, singular tourist visa type, definitely I want to hear from you guys as well whenever your time comes. The good Dr. Mike TV channel will definitely be here for you guys to be able to share your experiences. Okay, for sure. My man says they are refundable, but they are expensive. Hey, man, sometimes you got to pay the price. If it means that much to you to get out of the United States or wherever you're traveling from to get to the Philippines, got to pay the price. I told y'all, man, shit ain't gonna be cheap no more, man. Shit is not gonna be cheap no more. Pedro, you still plan to go in April, brother? Good luck to you, man, and definitely would love to have you guys on for the show. Guys, I've talked myself retarded, man. I think I'm good. Oscar, is there anything is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? Anything that we haven't touched on? Anything that you think will be valuable information to our future travelers to the Philippines? Anything,
Just
whatever comes to mind.
just be patient. Um, if you thought the lines were bad before, they're worse now because every person has to get scanned. So when you walking into somewhere, you got to
Right.
wait just a little bit longer because
All right.
everybody ahead of you has got to get scanned to go into that mall or whatever,
Mhm.
you know, whatever it is. So just be patient. Don't lose your shit. Don't be that guy that's gonna make us all look bad and make them start
Right.
reconsidering letting us all into
Let
the
him come
country
over.
because we all
Definitely.
want to go. So just don't don't be that asshole
All
because then we
right.
all that asshole.
I agree 100%, man, guys. We got to be on our best behavior, not our worst. I know it's going to be stressful. I can see if we're seeing the bitterness for the long term stayers in the country now, I can only imagine what it's going to be like for the newbies coming in. So, guys, just keep a level head. Make sure this is really what you want before you go. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Just make sure this is something you really, really want before you commit yourself to traveling. Oscar, brother, I appreciate you spending your time and energy with us, man. I appreciate you sharing in your knowledge and sharing in your recent travels to the Philippines. I think this particular live stream is by far one of the best that we've done in a long time. Definitely chock full of information, and that's all I want to do is be able to provide you guys with something to at least provide a baseline. Again, his travel is not probably going to be the same as yours, and vice versa. So everybody's probably going to have different traveling experiences, but at least you have a general expectation of what to expect when you guys are traveling to the Philippines. All right. I appreciate you guys locking in, man. If you guys haven't dropped your like, make sure you do so. Oscar, appreciate you, brother. Guys, we are going to go ahead and close this one out. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I appreciate you, Oscar, man. You guys take care. Doc is out. I'll take you guys
Have
in
a
the
good
next
one,
one.
Doc.
Peace out. All right, all right.